having everybody says movements, yay, institutions, boo. Two things. Number one, any movement that doesn't institutionalize eventually just putters out. Like I said, you can only, how long can you live in the park? You can only live in there so long. How long can you work without a salary? You know, eventually your mother calls up and says, you need to get a job. Oh, but Mom, I'm working for this great vision. You need to get a job. You know, your father says, I can't send you another check. So the fact, of course, is that even a movement almost has to, if the movement doesn't institutionalize to a degree, it fizzes out in a few months. People do need salaries, and the practices and values you come up with, right? If in a movement you decide this works and this works and this works, and then what do you want to do? You want to keep doing it. You know, our goal is to do this. It takes this in order to do this. That's what we've discovered. And now, how do you make sure you're still doing this 5 years from now and 10 years from now? You've got to institutionalize, which means you have to have job descriptions, which means you have to have benefits, which means you can't change every week, because either your people or the people around you, if you're changing every week, they don't know what you stand for anymore. And so the fact is that movements have to institutionalize if they are going to have a lasting impact. But it's also true that institutions have to movementize, or they wither and they die. Because what happens to a movement is, in the beginning, a movement is all about the needs of the people outside. So the leaders of the movement and the volunteers of the movement, it's all about what's happening out there. It's the cause, it's the vision. It's not about us. But what institutions do in order to keep people there and to create permanence and so forth, institutions actually do have to make sure that this is something you can do for 10 years or 20 years and that sort of thing. But institutionalism, where an institution loses all of its movement dynamics completely, it's impossible to make innovation. So it doesn't change. The world's changing, but we don't change because we've always done it this way. And people actually aren't concerned about the vision, they're concerned about keeping their job. You all know what that's like. There are lots and lots of institutions that started out as a cause, and now they're nothing more than just something that runs programs, and everybody inside is not concerned whether they're really changing the world. They're concerned about, how do I keep my job? How do I keep my turf? How do I keep my power? And eventually what happens is institutions die because they're no longer aligned with what's out there in the world.